Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Intuitive Life Coaching Oracle card reading for April 12th. Before we get started, I have some exciting news around the Intuitive Life Coaching Oracle cards. Many of you have been asking me if we're going to have a print version available, and we've been working on this behind the scenes, and we are getting so close now. I have one final proof that I need to send off for, and as soon as it comes back and everything is approved, it looks good, then hopefully right after that we're going to go ahead and release the Intuitive Life Coaching Oracle card print deck, which is super exciting. So I just want to let you guys know I don't have an official date, but once we send out for the proof, it takes anywhere from 2.5 to 3 weeks to come back. And if everything comes back great, then I'll be making a video to show you guys the cards, and we will then release them with a link on my website of where to purchase them. So I'm super excited. We're going to do a 5-card reading now for the week of April 12th. Before we even get started, I'm already getting a message around boundaries. So I wanted to let everybody know that this week moving forward, our boundaries might be challenged. We might really feel the need to kind of let people know what's okay and what's not okay. That energy is really intense. I actually did a card reading, one already for you guys. And that card practically drew itself, but the recording got messed up, so I'm not able to share it, so I have to redo it, which is fine. Obviously, we needed a different message, but there's still a lot of energy around the boundaries card that I did pull, and boundaries in our relationships, boundaries in our work environments, boundaries with acquaintances, boundaries with colleagues. It's all coming for us to really look at that and get clear about where we're spending our time. Balance is a huge thing, and we can't have balance in our life if we are always people-pleasing, if we're always trying to do what everyone else wants us to do and abandoning our own needs. That's a big message, balance and boundaries for this week. Let's go ahead and see what the cards have to say. For the situation this week, we have intuitive. The emotional challenge is power struggle. Our solution is reconcile. Wow, lots of energy this week. Our coaching advice is restlessness, and the potential is natural born leader. Let's look at the energy around intuitive. So as we are shifting directions, many of you are shifting directions, many of you are changing jobs, many of you are moving, lots of changes in the relationships. We actually drew the power struggle card for this week, and I was also talking about boundaries. But as we go through all this, we already know what to do. We know what to do, but we're dismissing it. The reason why we dismiss our guidance or our intuitive knowing sometimes is because of denial. When we're making a lot of excuses for someone or something, we're usually denying something. We're trying to hide it. We're pretending like there's not a problem when there really is. And at a gut level, at an intuitive knowing, we already know what the problem is, but sometimes we just don't want to face it. Sometimes we just don't want to look at it. This week, we're looking at it. But we're also learning about boundaries this week. Balance. I say boundaries again, but I mean balance, because we do have the restless card, and the restless card Restlessness is all about going and being overwhelmed and overworked and trying to do too much at one time and not being in the flow with what it is we're doing and actually forcing ourselves. And so if we're in denial in any way this week, we are supposed to use our intuitive knowing. We're supposed to stop, breathe, and ask what is going on with us, what we really need to know, what do we really need to understand this week, what are we not willing to look at this week, and just wait for that information to rise up within you, because you always can tap your intuitive guidance. You know what to do already. Are you listening? You're learning to embrace and trust your inner knowing. Intuition can take on many different forms. It's a natural way of being. There's nothing woo-woo about it. Many of us have been conditioned to tune out our intuitive abilities so we can fit in or blend in with our environment. This card is showing you that one of your strengths is your ability to know what you know and not know how you know it. When you know something that you can't explain, trust that. That's your inner voice showing you the truth. When we learn to live life from an intuitive perspective, our decisions and choices will change. We will be guided to do things that are for our highest good, and will immediately know who to trust and who not to trust. The more you listen and act on your intuition, the louder it gets. What is your intuition trying to tell you today? Sit down and ask, what do I need to know? Listen gently and pay attention to how you feel. We all get intuitive messages in different ways. Sometimes it shows up as a feeling, and other times it shows up as a knowing. Often you can just act without overly thinking. One of your strengths is your intuitive abilities. When you begin to honor this and own it, it will get even louder. You are being asked to trust your intuition. What do you know that you don't know how you know? The emotional challenge for this week is a power struggle. So that's give me just a second. So if we find ourselves getting caught up in situations where we're trying to prove our self, or if we're trying to convince someone of what it is we need, a power struggle is when two people start butting heads because they have complete and total disagreement and they're not willing to look at each other. Look at what the other person is trying to say and really hear them. Sometimes when we get in power struggles, it's because either one or more people has to be right, and they would much rather get into a huge argument or a huge fight than be wrong. But it's not about being wrong or right. It's about coming to an understanding, learning to work together. It's about resolution. It's about listening. Listening is huge anytime we're getting into big, serious misunderstandings with people around us. And we will know intuitively when a situation is unhealthy for us. But a lot of our relationships, we go through these power struggles, and because we're having communication breakdown, or we're not speaking up and letting somebody else know where we stand on something specific. So it does feel like there's lots of relationship challenges, energies this week that's pushing us forward into our transformation, because really the energy around the transformation that we're going through this week has to do with defining who we are and who we want to be and what we want in our relationships. So we're defining what our relationships look like, how we want people to interact with us, how we want to interact with other people. And as we do that and things are shifting around, it can cause this purging energy to come up and create a little bit of chaos around our relationships. But I do want to say too, as I'm talking about this energy around the power struggle card, is that sometimes it's healthy to have an argument. If we're not having an argument, then it's not that it's good to be yelling at people and fighting all the time. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying sometimes it's healthy to say what you need to say, and if it ends up in a disagreement or an argument, as long as both parties are willing to clear the air and hear each other, that's a lot healthier than putting on a mask and pretending like everything's okay, because as you do that, you shut down the connection between the two of you, and then there becomes this huge space between you, and there is no resolution because no one's willing to talk about anything. And at that point, that's when the relationship starts to go really sour. So if you're experiencing this week, we also drew the reconcile card, which tells me that everything is going to be just fine. So hang in there. You may be involved in a power struggle between two or more people. A power struggle happens when two people or a group of people are fighting against each other instead of working together. Each person has their own agenda or opinion, and they may not be willing to see each other as an equal in this situation. No person is superior to another regardless of their position. Each person has an equal right to have their needs met. Be willing to understand the other person's point of view and let go of the need to be right. This person could be unwilling to compromise or see both sides of the situation. There are always two sides to every story. When we get caught up in our own story, it can be difficult to see the other side. Take a step back, breathe, and be willing to look at this from a space of love. If this person still refuses to take into considerations your needs or the needs of the group, it does not mean that you have to let go of what's in your best interest or in the best interest of the group as a whole. You can always agree to disagree. Whatever happens, refuse to contribute your energy to this power struggle any longer. Continuing to power struggle is a waste of your precious time and energy. Pull out of this energetically toxic situation and neutralize the situation with a refusal to give it any more of your attention, at least for now. So the solution is reconcile. So it's interesting that in the emotional challenge we got power struggle, but when we're willing to compromise, when we're willing to be, you know, what's that phrase, the bigger person, or the person that isn't concerned with being wrong or right, but is more concerned in the quality of the relationship, then we're in a place where we can actually hear them. So this week, again, there's lots of energy about relationships. And if we're challenged in our relationships, it's okay, because all it is helping us through this transformation of clearing the air so that we can have better relationships, because we're craving our soul family. We're craving like-minded people. We're craving healthy relationships, our true love, and all of that. And so as we do that work this week, we're clearing the energy so that we can bring in that new relationship energy that is more in alignment with what we truly want in relationships. This relationship, friendship, or partnership can be saved. Yes, this relationship or partnership can be saved. You're being asked to be the bigger person in this situation and do what is necessary to call it a truce. Both parties are being stubborn, and this can be resolved in a way that is for the highest good of all that are involved. This card comes to you today to tell you that there is a communication breakdown. If all parties are willing to communicate, the situation can and will be resolved. It takes a certain amount of vulnerability to admit when you are wrong or forgive someone else. You're being asked to initiate a truce in this situation. Ask to speak to this person and communicate from a heart-centered space. See both sides to the situation and be willing to let go of the need to be right. When you let go of your need to be right, you will be in a space where you can fully listen to what the other person has to say. Listen with your whole heart. Be open-minded to hearing the other side of the story. This is a relationship worth salvaging. There is no need to give up just yet. Resolution is guaranteed when this card shows up in your reading. In other words, don't get too worked up about that kind of stuff. If we find ourselves in these situations as far as our relationships this week, it will pass. In the coaching advice, we do have the restlessness card, and that doesn't surprise me because we're doing a lot of shifting and learning to live in a more balanced way rather than trying to do everything. We're workaholics, we're working too much, we're not taking enough time to spend with the people that we love, we're not having enough fun. That is actually causing a lot of stress for us, and we really need to look at that this week. I know in the beginning of this video, I talked about we have to be willing to look at what we are not being honest about within ourselves. What are we in denial of? What are we not What are we avoiding that needs to change in our immediate environment and with our relationship with ourselves? Find a way to calm the waters of your mind. Are you feeling restless, irritated, and moody? Are you feeling stressed to the max and have more anxiety than usual? Your mind is going 100 miles an hour, and it's time for you to let go of all your worries and fears. Be willing to let go for now. Worrying and brooding on any particular subject is not going to help you solve the situation. You have to find a way to calm the waters of your mind. What is it that you do to relax and calm yourself? It's time to do what's necessary to relax your mind and body so you can get back into a balanced state and feel at peace again. Peace of mind is what is needed here, and there are many paths you can take to get there. Take a hot bath, go for a walk, make yourself a cup of your favorite tea, do what you need to do to get out of this anxiety worry cycle that is going on in your mind. Ask for help from divine. Take time out to pray and release this over to a higher power. No amount of worrying is going to fix this problem. Things will begin to shift when you can get out of this mindset. It truly will. So let it go for now and hand it over to God. You'll start to feel more like yourself as soon as you let it go. And for the potential this week is a natural born leader. You were born to lead others. It is a part of your life path. So let me tune into the energy of this. So if we find ourselves all of a sudden in a leadership role, and it makes us a little nervous because all of a sudden we're doing something different, or we're more in the spotlight than we normally are, or maybe we're stepping out on a new adventure and we're the main person running it. Maybe we got a promotion as a manager, we're starting our own business, we're leading the way for others in some way. So there's energy around that we are kind of taking on leadership roles in our life right now. And as we are taking on leadership roles, it's the most important thing that we understand is that we are worthy of them. We are worthy of them, and we are prepared for them, and we have worked hard to get here, and now it's time to say yes. Your natural ability to lead others may be a part of your life path. You may show signs of a true leader. A true leader is not a dictator. A true leader is a person that leads through love, compassion, example, and integrity. He has concern for the greater good of all. Even if you have not fully stepped into your role as a true leader or fully understood it, it could be an important part of your path. You may not even have to try to lead. It happens on its own accord. A natural born leader is someone that does not have to persuade others. It is someone that just naturally leads. Someone who is trying to be in control or persuade others to follow them for their own personal gain is not a true leader. This card is asking you to be mindful of your duties as a natural born leader and trust that this is your life's path. Don't let others deter you from leading because of jealousy or competition. If this is not your life path, however, you're being asked to let go of trying to be in charge and learn from another person. This person has much to teach and much to share. You will only be hindering yourself in the long run if you try to compete with them. If you join them, there is much you can gain, learn, and contribute to humanity for the greater good of all. It is also possible to have a partnership where two or more parties are equally true leaders. You will know when you've entered such a partnership because the events and collaboration will be effortless and magical. You will share the same collective vision of peace, happiness, love, success, prosperity, and equality for all. Thank you so much for listening to this week's Intuitive Life Coaching Oracle Card Reading. You guys can download the free version of this app at www.indie-goes.com. Please also do find me on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Intuitive Life Coaching with Kelly. And as always, you can find me at my website at www.intuitivelifecoachingwithkelly.com. Thank you so much for listening and have an amazing week.